Welcome to the long-awaited rebuild of the weekly challenge from last week. Was it last week? I think it was last week, or 2 weeks ago, actually. This is sad. Yes, the weekly challenge from 2 weeks ago. So as you can see, the challenge was to build a job search website using the JSearch API. So it's just a one-page website with a search bar and a search button. And in fact, how about we start by building out the UI of it? So let's say build a one-page website. Build a one-page website with a search bar and a search button that will display UI cards of one-page job search website with a search bar and a search button that will display UI cards of jobs, of matching jobs when the user presses search. Now, we're going to use the JSearch API, so we don't want to imply that the code for finding the jobs should be done for us, because we're going to use a specific API for that. So I will just say, leave out the job finding functionality, use placeholders for now. And I'll just pause while it's loading. Oh, well, there we go. Okay. Sure thing. Here's the first thing. You get this PM prompt, and this helps you kind of structure your application so you can read how it should be. And if you want to start building, you should go into sounds good, let's build it. But let's just read this out for a second. Create a simple one-page job search website with the user inputs a search button. That's right near the web page. Also designing create a search bar, then search bar display placeholder. Corresponds which will control the type amount display. Focusing to simulate. Sounds good. Let's build it. So, how's the weather? Yeah, weather's fine over here as well. Okay, I'm just going to pause it while it's loading because I've got limited recording time. Well, I know you won't believe me, but it actually finished immediately after I pressed pause. So sounds good. Let's build it. You get the response 1 minute later, and just to look in the code just to see if this is good. Seems okay. Seems decent. I mean, I don't like that this wasn't indented, but yeah, seems decent. Let's run the code. Oh, wow. Wow, nice. Wow, okay. Okay, search for jobs. Let's say, Python developer in Texas. Search. And so, yeah, search functionality will be implemented soon. So we've got a really nice start of the application here, but we're not done. So stick with me for part 2 of building this job searching website. Let's go. Okay, where do we leave off? So we left off here where I'm searching Python developer in Texas, but every single time I search, I get search functionality will be implemented soon. That's not an error. It just means that I haven't yet implemented that. I specifically said, don't do that for now. And that's because we're going to be using the JSearch API. And that was what was specified in the weekly challenge. It said use the JSearch API, and it was linked. So we can, the nice thing about Rapid API specifically is that it gives you these code snippets. And these are actually code snippets that you can just paste directly into the lazy builder and say, use this to make such and such a website that does such and such a thing. So in this case, and you can see my API key, I'm going to change it, okay? Yeah, but you can use this to make something that you can use these code snippets to make things that do the things that you want. So for example, I've got JSearch, and I can use this to actually implement the job searching functionality in the website, which I've already got. So I can get this code snippet and say, okay. And what I can say is, this is some code searching functionality complete with my API. And one thing I want you to take note of is not just the programming language here. I specifically chose Python out of all of these languages because the backends in Lazy are primarily Python. And so I specifically chose Python. Inside of Python, there is HTTP client and request. I don't think it matters which one you use. I just prefer request. So I've already copied the code and I say, this is some code searching functionality complete with my API key, and I copy it there. And then I want to say, use this to implement the job searching functionality in the app. However, there is a slight problem. Did some job placeholder that get added when I press search, or were they always there? Anyway, I think they were always there. Anyway, use it in the job search functionality in the app. However, this is not enough because you've just got the code, right? Then this doesn't mean that the software is aware of what this code returns. So let's say, for example, you get this print response.json. What is this? How can it get the jobs from this thing? What does that mean? And sometimes being more clear can improve the quality of your application when you be more clear about what exactly this means. And I can know what exactly this means by going back to Rapid API, and this is why it's a really good collaboration with Lazy, is that you can test it, and you test it, and you just to see what it returns, right? So I'm gonna test it, and when I test it, I see, okay, it returns this kind of thing, this object, right? And it's got 4 keys or 4 fields. It's got, a parameters field, a data field, a status OK field, and a request ID. And these parameters are Python developer in Texas, and that's what I chose earlier. It's not that the websites are connected; it's just that this is the default to the default thing. So if I said Python developer in Nottingham, for example, do they have any jobs for Nottingham? Probably not, but let's see. Oh, well, actually, yeah, they do. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you can see that it actually got this query. And this is going to be similar to what's going to be on my website, except it's got a better interface than this. So this data is what's interesting to us. And if you want, you can just explore this kind of response here, and you can see what it responds, just to make sure, just to see, what you're looking for. Where is the useful part of this data that it gives you? And the useful part for us is in data. And we can see that it's got this kind of, this kind of symbol. I wonder if we can just copy all this response. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can just copy this whole response. And what I can say is that a sample response from the API is this. Oop. Yeah, okay. Maybe it expanded itself way too much. So oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this has become a mega prompt. 1 minute while I just clean this up. Okay, it should be all cleaned up now. It's a much shorter prompt. Just all of this data, what actually happened when I copied it is all of these were expanded, and you can see they've got 41 keys each, and all of this was my prompt. So yeah, so I've shortened it, and I think I've just got 1 because all it needs is 1. So I'm not sure if I just deleted. I'm not sure if I've made a mistake in my deletion. Hopefully it shouldn't matter. So I say a sample response from the API is this. So use the sample code, use the code snippet and the sample response to extract the job. What do I want to show from the job? So that's a good question to ask yourself. What exactly, when you're working with an API, what exactly do you want to get? So in this case, I don't want all of this stuff. I don't want all these 41 keys. And I can just look and see what exactly I want. Okay, that was strange. So let's just say I just want the employer name, maybe. And we can build an extension of this that does more. But let's just say I want the employer name, and what else? I guess the job title. Yeah, so employer name, and is that on this? Yeah, and job title. So use the code snippet and the sample response to extract the employer name and the job title from the jobs returned. And then send it back to the front end to be displayed. And the employer name. Now I'm saying how it should be displayed. The employer name should be in the bold text where we see job listing placeholder 1, for example. The job title should be in the this is a placeholder for a job listing section. And that's a bit of a long prompt, to be honest, but it's a very detailed. And by the way, you don't have to give super long prompts. In fact, it's actually recommended that you give shorter prompts and make more incremental changes rather than to try and make everything at once. One thing I always say to people is that this is not an image generator. It's not a one shot. Like, you only have one chance. You can improve things as you go. So I could have broken this down. And if this doesn't work well, I actually will do that. I will break it down. I will say, okay, I'm going to do it one step at a time. But this is trying to do multiple things at the same time. So let's see how it works. So I've updated the homepage, and I just want to look at the code because I'm a developer, so I will always look at the code. We've got search.js, placeholder for search functionality, so it doesn't look like it's actually implemented the search functionality. Main.py from Flask import request, jobs, templates, home.html, what's being changed. Job employer name, a job in jobs. Okay. Like, I don't know. Let's see what it does. But you can see that it clearly hasn't used the code that I gave it. So just hold on while we check what it's actually doing now. So search for jobs, Python developer indexes. And nothing is happening. And the reason nothing is happening is because in the code of search.js, we say that when the form is submitted, it doesn't do anything. Oh, well, it should have alerted me to say searching. So let's actually see what's going on. Search. And so we're faced with a problem. Nothing happens when I press search. Python developer text is search. Nothing is happening. So what is the next step? Delete the whole project. No, it's to say nothing happens when I press search. But actually, one key thing that might be really helpful to know is that a lot of the time when you're building a web page and you don't know why some button isn't working or why no buttons are working, the usual answer is that the JavaScript file isn't linked. And so let's just actually look at what file this is. Well, I guess can't really tell from here. I thought we'd be able to, but yeah. So we've got all these files in our project, and in main.py, that's the main file that gets run, and we can see that at the home route, it's displaying home.html. Even here, it's still displaying home.html, and it's sending the jobs, and it says like if request start method equals the post. Let's forget about that now. And jobs is empty, and that's why we're seeing empty jobs. It's displaying home.html. And in the home.html, you can look for JavaScript files by searching for script. And we have got two JavaScript files, script.js and search.js. Search.js was recently changed, but we can't see search.js anywhere here. So search.js. And this is a normal problem. Hopefully it's going to happen less and less and less, but this is something that is really helpful to know when you're building a web page. That sometimes the JavaScript file isn't linked, so you can just say link the JavaScript file to the HTML. But the more pressing problem here is that in the search.js, there is a placeholder for the search functionality at the moment, which is sad because it means that this super huge prompt didn't work, and I should probably break it down. So what I'm going to try doing is just to resend this prompt. Hold on, I've got a modal window that's blocking. So I'm going to copy some of this prompt and just reset a small part of this prompt. So use this code snippet to implement real job searching functionality within the app. And I will say the user's text from the search for should be sent to the backend and then used as, you can save query here, Python developer indexes, then used as the query to, I just realized, oh no, never mind. Yeah, then used as the query to the job, to the API. So I've broken down the prompt. Now it's if it doesn't work, then try again. Yeah, here with me 1 minute later, actually same minute, so that didn't take very long. And main.py, let's look at main.py, and you can see that this time when I broke down the prompt actually worked. So we're getting the employer name. Oh, it actually got the correct key, without me having to specify this long thing, because it got the correct key, data, because that's where we were looking for it, and data is a list, and data is a list there. Or perhaps what was happening was that as the lazy builder is context aware of the project, including the chat history was also being read, and the question of what data should it extract, like employer name and job title, you can see that those were extracted, even though I didn't specify that here. It's because I specified it earlier, and you can see that this message was also being taken into consideration. And so this seems pretty good. This seems pretty decent. Let's see if requirements.txt request. However, the searching functionality hasn't yet been completed. We last saw that what happened was in the search.js, we still had a placeholder for the searching functionality. And did we ever get to adding search.js? There's still no result. So yeah, search.js is still not there. So we can just run the code just for the sake of it. Let's just run the code. And I will pause while that's happening. 1 minute, I will be right back with you. All right, so we're here again. I noticed the photo keeps on changing. Does that happen on every startup? What the heck is going on? I'm just so curious. I didn't say that should happen, but I'm just curious as what's going on. So I'm just going to stop it and then start it again to see if there's going to be a different image. If so, that is a pretty cool touch. Yeah, it does seem to change. That is nice. So Python developer indexes, we said the searching functionality is not that in the JavaScript. So I just want to say, implement the JavaScript. Okay, let's just say it. Implement the JavaScript code to make a call to the backend, sending the user's search to the backend. Yeah, sending the user search to the backend. Okay, that should be fine. That should be enough. Again, going to pause just so not the waste precious seconds. And we are back. Less than a minute later. Again, we're back to make a call to the backend. Search.js. So search.js now makes a call to the backend. So you can see that there's nothing like alert searching. So this is actually going to make a call to the backend. And I always just like to make sure that the JavaScript is correct. Just making sure that this has a closing one. So you can see this matches with that, and this matches with that. That should be fine. If you see red in your JavaScript files, then that means there's a problem. But this seems nice. However, we didn't get to linking this code. This doesn't have search.js still, so let's just say link. Let's be a little more vague. Link the JavaScript file home.html. So we don't know which JavaScript. I guess we do because we've already got script.js. another problem that I can already see because I'm a developer is that in main.py, and you'll see the prompt that I used to try to fix this. In main.py, what this returns is... Okay, I've linked the JavaScript out to search.js. Home.html as requested. Was it linked to home.html as requested? No, it was not linked to home.html as script. So we return, and search.js is still not in home.html. So I'll be a bit more specific. I remember allowing some vague. Search.js is still not in home.html. Welcome to the live debugging session. The highs and the lows. This is sadly a low. Search.js is not in HTML. Oh, there we go. And yeah, more specific prompt, and I get the result I want. Thankfully, it's there, but there is a problem. And I know this because I'm a developer. And in search.js, if you look, I can see that it's saying like jobs contained for each job. So for each job is creating a job card and it's displaying them. And honestly, that kind of seems pretty decent. It seems like a decent way to do things. So what I can say now, because the problem with this is that at the moment, this function where it returns home.html and actually makes the call to the API where the API code was added, is that it returns a web page, render template, home.html. It returns an HTML page. It doesn't return the jobs. The jobs are already displayed when it returns the HTML page. So perhaps what I should say is synchronize search.js and main.py. And this is important because not all your projects are seen by the prompts you send into the lazy builder at the same time. So when you mention specific names of files, those files enter the field of visibility, those specific files. So when I say search.js and main.py, those files are going to be taken into consideration. When I give something that's very vague, then the files that should be affected will be decided automatically. But when I'm very specific, I can get very specific results. So synchronize search.js and main.py to, what can I say, return the data in a good way. I'm not sure what I should say. At the moment, main.py returns HTML and search.js is not even, is it making a post request or something? Yeah. So synchronize them to, what should I say? Synchronize them to what? To synchronize them so that there will be no errors if I run the code. By the way, this is me running tests of the app. You can see here I was looking in the dev tools tab, just in the breaks. Okay, so synchronized, supposedly. Press.json like that query. Search.js. Well, let's see if it works. I'm not sure if it will. Did we already do the linking of home.html? Yeah, we did. We did link it to home.html. So Interesting. Let's see what happens when we click. And for that, you'll have to meet me in the next part of debugging with Mr. Lazy or Not Lazy. And after a 5-minute break, we have returned. Let us try and search for a job. Python developer in Texas. Here goes nothing. And nothing indeed it was. Nothing happens when I press the search button. And because I'm a developer, I know that it's probably because the submit event is not being fired. So I can make this more specific, and I can say the submit event is not being fired when I press the search button. But we won't say that for now. We'll recover if that's not understood. So we'll just say nothing happens when I press the search button. We'll just say that, and if it doesn't work, we'll recover and we'll be more specific. So the specificity of your prompts really impacts the stuff that you can get out of the lazy builder. How long has this been, by the way? How long have I been doing this? So about half an hour now. I mean, all said and done, this is a pretty decent result. Half an hour. And I anticipate we're going to be done soon. That's me, every single project. It's so close to being done. It's 99%, and it's like that loading bar that's just on 99% for so long. Yeah, anyway. Nothing happened when I pressed the search button. I've synchronized the search.js. That is not what I was talking about, but let's see. What happened? Main.py has been changed to request.get. Search.js. Yeah, I mean, this just looking at the code, this is not a good fix, right? So I will go back and I will say, I could test it, but I already know that it's not a good fix. So let me revert to this previous version and say the submit event is not being fired when I press the search button. So this seems like a half decent fix. It's probably gonna have an error, but it's like now it should this should be better just looking at the code. Even though it deleted something, added it back in, there's no problem with that. That's fine. This should happen at look at that while waiting. Smash.js. Date the jobs. This is coming from main.py. Oh, that actually should be, yeah, that should be a good fix, yeah. If I put my API key, let's just see if something happens. Like, we should get an error. If it does work, then we should get an error because I haven't put my API key in. Oh yeah, so we've got an error, and it says add in environment secrets. So yeah, let's add in environment secrets. I didn't put my API key in because the lazy builder decided that I need to be protected from people like you who want to steal my API keys. So I've got to get my API key from Rapid API again, and paste it into the builder. So is this good code? That is the question. Is this code in line with what was initially given? No. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see. Just looking at this code, I can see one slight difference. This says get. And this says post. But it's the same line, you can see. Well, let's just see. Obviously, we're going to get an error because that shouldn't work. Well, we didn't get an error. Well, we should have got an error here at least. In Chrome Developer Tool. So if you're a developer, then using this is incredibly useful. So yeah, we didn't get an error anywhere. This is incredibly technical. So I'm just going to change this one line because I feel as though this has got to be the problem. Request.get. And now that I'm in the code, I might just want to print the jobs just in case. Just say jobs. So this is really useful just to see if everything's working. Jobs. So now the jobs will be printed out onto the screen. Python developer indexes. Oh, that one change worked. Wow. Yeah, there we go. And the website is done. So Python developer indexes, search. Like I haven't added a loading spinner, but like there should be loading spinners, these kinds of things you need to communicate them to developers. But you search and there you have it. You've got your job search website and it's finished and it's, I mean, you could add an icon to this, maybe you can add a title, but just as a starting point, I'm going to release a template of this and you can see it. So this was built in. When did I start and what is the time? So I started at 5:10 p.m. Now the time is 6 p.m. 6:01, 6:02, 6:03, whatever. And then just because I was printing the jobs, you can see these things are getting printed to the logs, just in case I had an error, and it's printing out all the jobs and all the logos, and you can add even more data. And I'm using the JSearch API. And just like this, let's say I said Python developer in, which place can I think of? I'm not from the US. This is Dallas in Texas. Goodness, I sound like an idiot. And I'll just say New York. In New York. Let's see what happens. Oh, did it add to them? Did it add on to them? So how many were they before? Del 4. We stopped at Del 4. Oh, it got different ones each time. I mean, that's pretty cool. So let's see, Python developer in New York. So this is something that you'd probably fix on your own app, like just to make it more specific, I guess. So Python developer in New York, and you can see these companies, and you can add more. You can say, okay, I'm going to get this extra data. Like, you see all these details, like the knowledge that you need, all of these things are in the API. And what you can do is that you can actually include this. You can say, okay, take that as well and display it as well. So those are the two things. You get stuff from the API. Hold on. You get stuff from the API. You get stuff from the front end, like the display. You get the display that you want, and then you put them together to make something beautiful. And so you can see the issues that I ran into while having this page. Like, for example, let's just go over all the issues that I went through, all the traumatizing issues that ruined my entire career. Hold on, let me switch to using my mouse. Yeah, so we started over here just with a prompt to build a one-page website, and let's just make sure that this meets the specification. So it must be a one-page website with a search bar and search button. That's true. Use the job search API to display a list of real jobs that match the user's query when they press search. That's also true, and so that is done. Okay, so I've updated the homepage functionality. This is some code search functionality complete with my API key. I've updated the backend. Well, so yeah, you can see the first thing. I think the first thing here was sending this mega prompt. I sent this mega prompt, and things weren't done how I wanted them to be. But then when I broke down the prompt, what actually happened? And sending this mega prompt was not all a waste of time, because when I sent the smaller prompt, the mega prompt was taken into consideration, and the stuff from the mega prompt was automatically included. So it's not to say that never send any big prompts, but it's just to say that you're better off building things incrementally rather than trying to get everything done at once. Then I said implement the JavaScript to make a call to the front end, but then the JavaScript wasn't linked, right? And you can tell when a JavaScript file isn't linked, or you can suspect that a JavaScript file isn't linked just by when you try and run your page, when you try and press something on your page, it isn't working. And this is specific to web pages only, and it's an issue that we're working on stopping very, very soon. So hopefully this same tip will be relevant very soon. Search.js is still not in home.html. So synchronize search.js and main.py to return the data in a good way. This is a prompt I use a lot of the time. Like if I've got two files that need to communicate with each other. So for example, main.py is the backend, and this is where all the logic is happening of the job searching, with the API. And the front end, or the interface, the front end is search.js, right? And search.js needs to communicate with main.py. And so synchronize these two files. Like if when I say synchronize these two files, I'm putting both of them in the field of visibility. And I say synchronize search.js and main.py to return the data in a good way at the moment, just for more specificity. More specificity equals to good, as long as you're not, being so specific that it's just an entire essay. So yeah, then the files were synchronized, and the submit event was not being fired when I pressed the search button. I could have theoretically just kept on saying, okay, this is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening. And at some point I could have, but as a developer, I can find these shortcuts to myself to make things shorter. This was built in less than 1 hour. And then what I had to do was just add the API key. What manual change did I make? Oh, the last manual change that I made was just something I noticed that this thing was changed. And let's just check if at some point it was actually altered. So yeah, you can see at this point. Yeah, wait, synchronize at the point where I made the synchronize thing. So it was synchronized, and as it moved things around. So let's just look at the previous main.py before this. So in the previous main.py before this, we have it looks correct, right? But then when we switch to this one, it was altered. And that is it. Well, yeah, and it's something that I've taken note of as I'm filming this video. I don't want to hide it away, because then, if somebody runs into this kind of issue, then, they won't be able to solve it, probably. So now that you see this, it's something that you might be able to suspect, but probably not. This is an incredibly rare thing to happen, because I am just very unlucky in that way. Oh, I don't like to say unlucky. No, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. Yeah, so what's the takeaway from all this? The takeaway is, did I run into errors? Yes, I did run into errors. Were my errors insurmountable? No, they were not. And if I didn't know how to do them, there would have been somebody in the community who knew how to do them. Like, for example, if I wasn't myself and I was somebody else who had less knowledge, and I was trying to build this thing, and I ran into the first error, and I just said, okay, I'm just not going to build my idea, and I stopped, then my idea is never going to exist anymore. But this is an idea that could have been built in under an hour with the correct knowledge and with the correct prompts. So if I had just asked for help, for example, I might have been able to overcome that and build my idea. And it's important to understand that because at Lazy, we're building a community just as much as we're building a business. And so that means that if you run into errors when building an app, then you should reach out to people. You should ask people because they might know what's wrong with your app, and you can fix it, and you can get your idea out and into the world. And so that is the end. Welcome. Thank you for watching the rebuild of the weekly challenge. And let's just do one more search. So let's search for something absurd to end it off. Let's search for JavaScript developer in space. Is that going to give an error? JavaScript developer in space. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. It shouldn't take that long. Well, I mean, we don't get any errors in the console, but it seems like there were no jobs for JavaScript developers in space. But this is something that needs to be improved. If there's no jobs, it should say no jobs. So please, if you're watching this, you've got to build on this template. I'm going to, put the link nearby. So you should build on this template and make it better. Add this. When there are no jobs for JavaScript developers in space, it should say no jobs for JavaScript developers in space rather than just leaving me hanging.